Hi, my name is Ashley Zachary.
And my name is Dion Jones Jr.
And we are here to discuss how Cal State Long Beach perpetuate the idea of white supremacy. (2013, 2014) the Black Actors Union.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So
tell me a little bit of why it was created and what was the purpose of it? What was the purpose?
So the Black Actors Union was created originally to serve the purpose of creating more inclusivity in the department for people of color. Mm-hmm. It was supposed to be a way to integrate more African-American shows to be done at Cal State University of Long Beach due to the fact that there was a lack of representation of people of color on the main stage productions. Myself and Mr. Love, who was also a former alumni, we decided to put together a group for that reason. Okay. It was only intended just to give that freedom to people of color. However, it soon became something that grew even more.
Okay. I came to Cal State Long Beach August 2013, and I used to watch you guys and inspire one another. I used to hear like, hey, they're just doing monologues, everything like that. Now we want to move to the town hall meeting that was called because there was a main stage that was chosen for us for 2015. So now we're in 2014 March.
Yeah, end of semesterish time period. Yes. And with that whole town hall meeting that was supposed to be called for to meet up just about Color Museum and how people of color felt about a non-person of color directing it.
Yes, which Mr. Bishop, right?
Yes, Mr. Bishop was supposed to was set out to direct the Color Museum. And the funny thing about it is a lot of the students who did not like him personally tried to advocate to get the show pulled. And they tried to make it about like, oh, well, how do you feel? You know, I've had 3 people come up to me in a rehearsal of a show that I was doing for theirs talking about, well, how do you feel about Trevor directing a show? And, you know, oh, I don't agree with it either. And maybe you should sign the petition. They tried to get me to sign a petition to have the show pulled.
Because Trevor is, he's a Caucasian male, let's say that. He's a white male that was supposed to direct the Color Museum.
Yes, yes. That actually ended up directing it. And so the 3 females that wanted me to sign the petition, I just politely refused because the way I viewed it wasn't the fact that he was a white male directing the show. I saw it as an opportunity for African Americans to still have their own show. Do I agree that it could have been directed by a person of color? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You know? And if we could go back in time and change it, that would be amazing. However,
I remember seeing shows from 2013. I stopped seeing shows around 2017 where they always outsourced the director that was part of the race, you know what I mean? So like when it was an Irish play, someone, you know what I mean? So I thought, just to be fair, he did a wonderful job. However, let's be clear here, you know what I mean?
Right.
Right. So with that being said, they said everybody's required / everybody that's Black.
Yes. For lack of a better word.
Come to this town hall meeting. I remember that day because I felt a little weird, to be honest, and I'm not going to be long-winded. I was like, why are we talking about a play that's being done like, I've never seen this before in 10 months that I've been here, but okay. I'm gonna let you go from there, and then I'm gonna tell my experience. But I remember everybody coming in, and the head of the department, which was head of directing, which Ann Desmiras, right?
Yes. So the way I recall that whole event, it was literally blindsided because I was going into the meeting prepared for a discussion of how does the cast of color feel about being directed by a white male.
That's exactly what I thought it was about as well. Like, okay, that's what we're here for.
Exactly. So when we later discovered that it quickly turned into an ambush of some sort, that's when I was so confused, because it seemed like we were supposed to call a meeting. I believe the meeting was even set for like 4:30 or something, because it was a little bit before a main stage rehearsal. That's when they wanted to call it. So it just caught me off guard, the fact that we were waiting for somebody, and it was like, okay, well, who the heck are we waiting for? Yeah. You know, because I thought that everybody was there. But then for it to be a thing where, you know, Ms. Dent walks in, and then that's when we start the meeting, and then all the focus shifts from...
And if I remember, you stand me if I'm corrected, do you remember, as soon as Miss Dent walked in, Ms. Demira said, or something on the lines of the line of, I wasn't aware that the Black Actors Union was created. So that was confusing, but I know that statement was it started the train, and once the train started, it did not stop. And yes. I remember sitting there in my seat, I was shaking because I was so furious. I was angry. I was sad. I felt embarrassed. I felt, I was furious because it was an out of body experience. You understand what I'm saying? So with that being said, the moments that was transpiring, it was happening so fast where everyone was confused, because it was no longer about the Color Museum, which it was never about. It was about one single person that had an article written about them. Somebody asked them their opinion about the Black Actors Union, and and I quote, I am really about giving the voice to the underdog, of what she was saying. And in the article, and I will link it in this description below of this video, of saying that we did not have no one to represent us in the department. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so what was your thoughts on what happened that day, Color Museum / Dent Party? Because it wasn't about the Color Museum. It was about one single person that spoke up about their truth and was depicted.
Yeah. About that whole entire event, I was so confused, because to me, the way it was just went about, I was baffled because I didn't have words to say, because again, I was going in with the impression of this is going to be about a white man directing an all-Black cast. So I'm thinking, okay, well, let me get some talking points ready. And then when it immediately shifts to Ms. Dent, I go, wow, it happened so fast. And the next thing you know, she's feeling like she has to defend herself and she's alone. And it just became this thing of like, wait a minute. So is it department against Ms. Dent, or is like, what is this? It really left me confused.
hostile. That's in like those words ring so true to me. It was very toxic, and it was yeah.
And then the thing about that I find so you know, it tickles me to think about it now. Facts. Because it seems like shortly after that, I want to say like a couple of days, don't quote me verbatim, but it seems like a couple of days after that, Mr. Love and I had Ms. Desmiras approach us, and she wanted us to change the name from Black Actors Union to the Unifiers. And now, just being a person more matured and more older and just able to, you know, put puzzle pieces together, I see it as now as like, that's a way for her to have control again, to make it seem like there is no controversy in the department, to make it seem like everyone is being treated equally. You know what I mean? Yes. Because honestly, what was supposed to be intended just to integrate Black culture even more into the department, and just to integrate more equality and opportunities for Black people, turned into something where somebody took their truth and the pain behind it and created an organization that was even more to be like we're here, this is us, give us what we demand for, which there's nothing wrong with it. The only
giving critique,
like we were
African American people to come talk to us that was from the industry. You know what I mean? We had a lot of good things going on.
Exactly. And I just feel like, you know, anytime when you put together such a powerful organization,
yes,
it holds a threat, especially if a person who's supposed to be in charge of a department can't have their paws on it or can't have control on it. Yes. This is just me speaking from personal experience. I just feel like, honestly, it could have been something personal that happened between the two ladies, but I felt like one person just handled it in a more unprofessional way by making that person feel singled out.
Yes.
And I'll just leave it at that. Because that's definitely
what happened. For sure. And so by 2014 August, that's when I remember Ann Desmiras, we having it was a town hall meeting, because everyone was there, and it was like, oh, we're gonna quote unquote change it to the Unifiers, and my take on it, and I was like, so say what?
Yes.
And also to put some facts in there, before it was changed to the Unifiers, Miss Dent had met with Miss Billings. It was supposed to be like an integrating thing for the.
It was like she was supposed to be like essentially like a facilitator.
Yes, because of the chaotic, toxic environment that we was put in for the Colored Museum / that single out party. Let's say it like that. And so by that time, I'm not gonna lie. By that time in the department, I was still like in my little shell, still trying to figure things out. I remember, let's get to the Colored Museum, because Mr. Bishop still directed it. He directed the heck out of that play. Let me say that. Fabulous job. I wanted to crew on it. I said, I have to crew on it. I have to be there to support my fellow Black students. You know what I mean? The fellow Black peers, excuse me. And on the set of that, one night that I was on the set of it, I'm not gonna single this person name out because that's too much. You get what I'm saying? But the person made a statement that shouldn't have been made. Let's say that. And it was like, oh, don't keep those chains on you too long. And I cried that night. Because I didn't feel comfortable enough to speak up in that moment to even say that, just like I was silent that particular day about the Colored Museum town hall meeting. It silenced me. I went to the head of stage management, and I spoke to Ashley, And she sent out an email personally, and if I remember correctly, she came in and made an announcement. But things like that, of someone making a joke, I don't know the statistic on it, but what if I don't remember correctly, like jokes are like 99% come from a truthful place, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what just happened to my body there, but that happened. Like, cause it's like, you get what I'm saying? So with that being said, that was hurtful. And I have had a lot of therapy due to the theater department of Cal State Long Beach. I'm not gonna lie. So how was your being on the set of the Color Museum?
Yes, so definitely, and that's why I'm glad we're doing this, just to, you know, give credit to where it's due, because I do personally feel like being one of the actors on that project of the Color Museum, I can say that it was collaborative as a company. I don't feel like in any way did Mr. Bishop ever try to take it and just put all his own ideas in it. I felt like he did treat us like professionals. We were able to integrate and collaborate with great ideas. And it was a successful show. I mean, we were sold out every single night. But, you know, being that it's an all-Black cast, we would never get that recognition. You see what I mean? And I think that we had some of the most stellar performers in that show alone, where none of us were paid that recognition that we deserve for coming forth with our first ever all-Black main stage show. And I don't know how many years of Cal State Long Beach history. You know, that's something to be celebrated, to have amazing, talented Black people just sharing a stage together and just living under imaginary circumstances, creating real life and touching people. You know what I mean? That to me is still a magical experience, despite everything behind the scenes that had to transpire. Because for me, what happened behind the scenes is what Black people have been dealing with our whole lives. You know, the fight. And you still shine like diamonds in the rough. You know what I mean? Yeah. So either way it goes, I see it like, you know, we had so many great shows lined up that semester. You know, we had WOOooOO, we had Color Museum, we had a few other shows, but I don't feel like Color Museum got as much support as the other shows did. I felt like we got more negative connotations before anything could ever happen. So I felt like there was that much more pressure, you know what I mean, for us to put on a great show. And let's not take away from the fact that all of the people, myself and the company, we were all off book before the first day, you know, but no one's gonna talk about the success.
Yes.
They're only gonna talk about what was unfair, and that was the fact that there was an all-Black cast and no white people could audition for it. I literally heard people in the green room getting bothered because, oh, we can't audition for it because we're white. Well, think about how many times, you know, we couldn't audition for things because we're Black.
Yeah.
And, you know, it also ties into, I remember the first ever show I got casted in at Cal State Long Beach in the main stage was By the Bog of Cats, which Irish play.
Okay.
I was casted as the male lead of Carthage Kilbride, and to me, I wasn't expecting it. I just knew that one of my white peers were gonna get it, because the first thing I thought about going into it was, I'm Black. This is an Irish play.
Yes.
Where would I fit in? And then when I got casted in, just to hear an ignorant comment about, how does a Latina woman and a Black male have an Argentinian baby? To me, it was the most ignorant thing anybody could ever say. And I won't single her name out, but just know that was an ignorant comment that she made, and that it didn't sit right in my mouth. It put a bad taste in my mouth, shall I say. And it really hurt just to know that there were so many people rooting against us in that process.
And to shift gears, after the Unifiers was created,
yes,
Up and Coming Actors was created by the frustration of Black Actors Union in the way it was shifted into gears, the way it was, we can say depicted, right? Like, yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, definitely, and I'm just being truthful with you. Up and Coming Actors is also known as UCA, and UCA was with my fellow peer, Miss Moeller. She was able to exercise her voice as a writer and write roles for people of color that attended the theater department. So we was able to give opportunities to multiple people. And because the Multicultural Center said, hey, you guys are theater students, do you know anyone that can do this, do that? I put on my directing hat, and Tahiré continued to exercise her voice as an extraordinary writer that she is. And she wrote some wonderful plays. We had People of Color, No Happy Color, Mainstream the Dream, a thin, hey, what was it? A play between then and now. What was it? It's escaping me. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. But that's the reason why Up and Coming Actors was created, because something that was created, Black Actors Union was created out of something of love and encouragement. It wasn't there with the unifiers because it was something that was forced.
Yeah, and not only that, but something I will touch on with the unifiers is I felt like it was one of those ways, and this is just speaking 100% truthfully.
Okay.
And it has nothing to do with my peers, my former colleagues that were there. But to me, it was just such a shift to be dealing with cultivation of Black people for so long, and having that positive sisterhood and brotherhood and that camaraderie, to going from that to, oh, well, so-and-so, you need to look for replacements. And little would you know, our replacements will be white. So there's a lot to say there. And, you know, just segueing into, like, since we are on the topic of just the white supremacy and the power of how the fear that was instilled in us of being blacklisted or not casted.
Yeah, let's speak about it. Let's talk about it. If you like, that was very clear at that moment in time of the way Ms. Damaris exercised the supremacy, yes, the white supremacy, or if you speak up out of what the little box that we have you in, we will do this, and this is what's going to happen.
Yes, and it was even so clear that we weren't as supported, because I myself went through personal things with a faculty member by the name of Andrea Caban.
Okay.
And what happened with that was just, I felt was completely unprofessional. So my mother had took ill, and she had to get a neck surgery.
Okay. And talking about senior year 2015?
Yes.
Okay.
So my mother had to get a neck surgery. And I was thinking about the transitioning of getting out of college into the real world, because I knew I didn't want to go jump right into grad school. I knew I wanted to, you know, learn a bit about myself, embrace my truth of being an openly now gay man. And, you know, so I knew there was a lot on my plate that year. So I had got into the show Last Days of Judas Iscariot, and then I was involved in three showcases. Okay. And then on top of that, I also had to cover for somebody's main stage who dropped out of the show for Eurydice. Okay. So on top of that, I was working a job at Target from about 3 a.m. to 8 a.m. Mind you, my school schedule was from 9 all the way to 1 a.m. because I was involved in shows, and that also included all of my senior classes.
So senior classes is from 9 to 5, a main stage show is from 6 to 10, and then a showcase is from 10:30 to 12 a.m.
Yes. And so I had to deal with just all of that, you know, just with the shows and the main stages and all of that stuff that just was like really, really daunting for me, because I was like, oh gosh, well, you know, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting rest. I was
Your mother was sick. I know we talked about several times.
Yes, my mother was sick. I wasn't getting rest. And I was grouchy. I was tired. I didn't want to do the show. Like, I purposely, and this is something that nobody knows except for very few close friends, I purposely tanked the last days of Judas Iscariot audition so I would not do the show. So I could not be cast for the show, actually. And I still wound up getting cast. So there was that. And on top of that, I remember being told by a faculty member, I will not mention his name, but I was told that there was rumors going around of me doing cocaine.
So accuse you quote unquote doing cocaine, and you are at school from 9 to 5 in a show from 6 to 10, and doing a showcase from 10:30 until 12 a.m. and then getting up going to work from 3 to 5. But
I still had 2 capstones I was taking that were writing intensive. So I would literally, right when I get home, have to write a paper from like as soon as I get home to like 2:30 in the morning, 30 minutes of sleep, and then up for work. You see what I mean? Like how tiring that could be, and it's exhausting. So
it was a professor that asked you that question. That question.
Yes, he specifically said, you know, people thought that you were doing cocaine and da-da-da. And I took offense to it because I'm like, well, if you asked me about what's going on, you would know. But just to backtrack a little bit and go back off of what I was saying about Andrea Caban, I had committed to doing a show with her the semester previously before my mother took ill. When I found out about my mother's condition and that she would need surgery, I told her there's a lot going on. It's bad timing. I'm going to have to drop out of the show. I apologize. I thought she would come from an understanding place. She didn't. She had an attitude or whatever. She had an attitude so much to the point to where when I would see her in the halls, she'll walk past me and make it a point to roll her eyes. In return, I wouldn't say anything back to her. Cool, keep it cute, keep it pushing. And then it became worse. Then she sat in on my advanced Meisner class. I'll make eye contact with her, not say anything. She came in and sat in on the last days of Judas Iscariot rehearsal. I'll talk to her. I mean, she'll say something, look my way. I wouldn't say anything to her. And then she had the audacity one day to type in an email, to write me in an email saying, oh, I just feel you've been very disrespectful, not saying anything to me. You ignore me in the halls. You roll your eyes at me. I feel like we need to have a conversation. When all in all, I told her why I couldn't do her show anymore. She took offense. She got mad, and she expected me to kiss her behind, which is what I wasn't going to do. However, I felt like if I truly reacted in my truth that I am now, I would have been blacklisted. I wouldn't have been able to do any type of shows. And that would have just been that for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so, speaking of Miss Caban, I graduated in 2015, right beside you. And 2016, I was still there directing shows with the Multicultural Center. And it was graduation day for class of 2016. And she came up and I was with my best friend and she yelled in my face, "Why aren't you holding the theater pole?" I said, because I graduated last year.
And she never guys, I was
I said, thank you for yelling in my face and embarrassing me in front of my peer. Like, that was my reply. Well, thank you for yelling in my face, because I felt so embarrassed. Like, just yell at me in front of everybody. I didn't even have a cap or gown. Hey, it was a lot of mistakes that year. My name was still in the ceremony. They had it in there. Remember, I had kept an extra book, but and to bring that up, like, the head of voice and speech. One of my Black peers was learning an accent, and she dropped the N-word, the word nigga, while teaching him the accent. And he told me about it, and I was like, wow, like you felt that comfortable enough because you're teaching me an accent. But it's, and I say that to bring, I wanted to shed light to that. Is like, we have to be clear, like, no matter how much you like me, how much I respect you,
there are boundaries.
There's clear boundaries. You teaching me an accent, I don't think that word
should have been brought up and lieu to that, you teaching me of that dialect or whatever the case may be, because it's not like you're going to teach me an Irish accent and be like, are you redneck or something like that, you know what I mean?
And also, it was from the movie of Hustle and Flow. If you don't know what that movie is, go watch it and see the part where Terrence Howard and Tahadri P. Henson is in. There was that scene playing, and then that was said after. So I felt for that particular person, my peer, my fellow Black peer, it's like, he was like, she really felt comfortable enough to say it.
Right.
And I'm not speaking for him, but for me to hear that and then to see how she reacted to me and yelled at me in my face, and I used to speak to the young lady, the woman all the time. And
yeah. Personally tried to stay out of her way. Just because I always felt like there was never support from the department in that way. I honestly only ever felt supported by Hugh O'Gorman and Anna Steers, to be honest. I just felt like I could go to them and talk to them more candidly.
Not to mention that we didn't have anyone to represent us until Dr. J. Austin Williams came and Asha Kimali.
Yes, Asha Kimali was amazing. And we also had Andre Garner, not to mention we had Andre Garner as a grad student, Carol Foreman, just a few other people who were of color. But even then, I just felt like because the department just lacked so much diversity and because it just felt like, people of color were just non-existent. One of the things, actually, since we're on this topic, one of the things that actually really made me feel uncomfortable, and I'll never forget this, and this is just something to share with everybody watching this video. If you're directing somebody of color, particularly a Black person, stop telling them to be more Black. Stop telling them to be ghetto. Stop telling them to be more of a thug, because what you're trying to look for, the correct word that you're trying to look for, is telling us to be more ignorant. Or urban, yes. Like, you want us to be more ignorant. And to me, it's offensive because it's, what is more Black? What is more hood? What is the epitome? What does Black look like? Because my thing is, my skin is Black. My skin is what I am. So however I act, that's what you're gonna get. You know what I mean? And I just feel like having to be in that type of environment where you're around so many other people, you have to watch what you say. You can't be yourself fully 100%. So you have to put up this facade. You have to smile and kiki in a lot of people's face who you don't care about, or they don't care about you. So it really made me feel like a part of me was stripped away just to get a damn title, essentially, on my degree of performance major, because that's what I went into the program for, was to perform, was to act. So to have a lot of things that went down where I didn't feel comfortable with it and I had to silence myself, it was so hard. Being in that department for 4 years, I can remember thinking to myself, like, damn, do I want to go to class today? Damn, do I want to see that person today? Do I even want to look at that person today? I don't even want to be here today. I remember literally going through like a mental breakdown, dealing with the death of my aunt, dealing with a breakup, dealing with my mom's taken ill, just dealing with so many things. And I remember dealing with my own personal issues, and just having to go into that department would depress me. It would stress me out, you know?
And for me, some of the conversations that took place in classes made me uncomfortable.
Right.
Like it's making me cringe now. Let me like relax my shoulders.
Right.
Some of the conversations that took place in class, to listen to your fellow peers when it comes to a topic of African American people, the things that were said, which made me say, oh, okay, well, let me just mind my business, direct these multicultural plays, and do my best that I can do. And so that's where my heart left. And yes, like, to give names to the people that definitely, my relationship with them is wonderful. Hugh O'Gorman, yes, indeed. Alexandra Billings, Ashley, I can't pronounce her last name. I don't want to butcher it. There we go. And Anna Steers, yes. We can say
number one. Love her.
Yes, that always been there to give us understanding or see it from a different point of view.
Right.
Anna Steers is phenomenal acting teacher, by the way, as well. So I don't have anything else to say, Dion. Do you?
Yes, I would like to just add one more thing to say, and this is just more so like a message to go forward, because I just feel like because there wasn't a lot of representation for us going forward, if there is a change to take place, and I'm praying that there is a change, to take place, because I would love to go back someday and direct a show for people of color, or I would love to go back someday and just witness a show for people of color, because honestly, I feel like the Color Museum was just an introduction of how amazing Black magic truly is. And then, would you know that on that set, not one single person in the cast felt uncomfortable with one another. It was the first ever show where I can actually say I found a lifelong family. And I would love for every single person to have that experience in the department. It doesn't matter if you're Asian, Latina, Black, white, Portuguese, Samoan. I don't care what you are. I just would love for everybody to be able to enjoy, you know, gaining that training, that experience that they're paying for. Yeah. You know, I would love for people to just gain all of that and just harbor it in, because it really does teach you something. It really does. So I say that I don't want this to be a thing of just a temporary change because of what's going on, because of what's happened to Breonna Taylor, or, you know, Robert Fuller, or George Floyd, or any of those people, you know, Trayvon Martin, or any of those people. I don't want it to be a thing of like, oh, well, we see this going on in the media. How did we do for you guys? Right. It's 5 years too late.
It really is. Well, it's for me for 2013-7, because in 2014 that situation about the Color Museum Town Hall meeting changed my life and sent me to therapy. And I would like to say, I hope moving forward that they can get someone that represent African American people there, that represent everyone. That would be,
yes, that would be amazing.
That would be amazing.
And also, just before this, just to pay homage to a few more people, Dr. J. Austin Williams taught me so much, just about, you know, in writing for theater and theater just in general. She taught me so much, and she inspired me just to look at what's not being talked about on the stage. Ashley Blankenship, wonderful, phenomenal woman. She taught me so much when I had the experience of not only working side by side with her on Last Days of Judas Iscariot, but I got to work with her in Dutchman, and I also got to sit in as a teacher's assistant with her when she taught her 113 class, and she is just brilliant. And I would have loved to have heard more of her ideas and just learned about the business of acting from her, because she's such an intelligent, intellectual woman. And I just feel like they don't want to give that glow up to people of color. And as far as people like Andrea Caban, Anders Mears, all of these people who felt some type of way, you would never know what you do to a group of people and how they perceive you.
Yes.
You would never know how now it tarnishes you in such a way, and it makes you just look like a person who is threatened, intimidated, stuck up, and just plain out selfish and out for yourselves. And I'm just gonna call it out because at the end of the day, this is something that I always wanted to say, but because I am a 6'3" African-American male, if I voice my opinion, I am considered to be aggressive. I am considered to be mad. I am considered to be all of these things, and nobody's seeing it as me voicing my opinion to be heard. Yes. It's always an aggressor. And it comes to the point to where we have to stop seeing it as people of color complaining or being aggressors and start seeing it as we're speaking up and using our voices for change. And that's all.
Yes. And hey, this you triggered something, and just of saying like, I with the thing with the Cal State Long Beach, I send a lot of positive vibes, prayers for everyone. It was a lot. It was a lot to be in. It was a lot to get out of. It was a lot to witness.
You were there.
It definitely was life-changing. I definitely believe like it made me a better person, and to be aware of the situations, because one situation could appear one thing and it can be another. So basically it's the laugh now, cry later. Let me show you. We played no games. Laugh now, cry later. You can be laughing now, but you cry later, or you could be crying now and laughing later. And exactly. I'm just thankful. I'm thankful that we was able to have this talk.
Yes.
And I can express my feelings about the department, and there's no love lost. I love you guys. I for you guys and everyone, that's a part of the things that's on my list. And I don't want to get too emotional because you already triggered something, and it's a lot. And y'all, like, when you're part of something, you witness something, you don't know how that affects people's life. Like, just that witness of how that individual was treated. You know what I mean? Like, and I said I was gonna cry, like, but how that individual was treated, that hurt, like, to witness. And because we was not aware of what was transpiring, and it literally happened in 45 seconds. 45 seconds is something that impacted my life for a lifetime.
And not only that, but to add on to what you're speaking on, I also feel like, just with everything that transpired and just with the impact that it has had, I do also feel like that, they didn't know how to deal with people of color.
No.
And I feel like we were kind of pushed off to the side, because when you don't know what to do with something, you just put it in a I'll figure it out later pile. And so I felt like if there wasn't a role specifically that says this is for African American, or this says that it takes place in a rural, urban area, then we were not really considered. And I remember clear as day, and this would be the last thing that I say, but I remember clear as day, I was busting my behind off my sophomore, junior year. I would go from work to take a rehearsal room in the theater department, and I would just run my lines, run my monologue. I made sure I was going to get into 318. I made sure I was going to be performance major. I made sure I had to work twice as hard to be twice as good, because I knew that my black wouldn't be better than anybody else. And that is where my power came from. Having a twice as hard is where my power came from. My power derived from the anger and being mistreated.
Yes.
And that's where the power came from. And then just having people, when they got in certain positions of power, to think that they could talk to me in any kind of way. I remember, again, going back to Judas Iscariot, my time was wasted by the director, I'm not gonna lie. She called me in from 6 to 10, never used me for those 4 hours. My time was wasted. By her assistant director at the time, I knew my body was in overdrive. I knew I was tired. I knew I didn't get any sleep. He wanted me to push my body past the limits where I knew it wasn't gonna go. So I snapped and I said, can we move on? Because it's not happening tonight. He got pissed off, copped a little attitude. I don't care. I copped one back. Because at the end of the day, you're not gonna try to tell me what my body can and can't do. And you're not gonna make me do something that I don't want to do. And just that control, it is time to break the white supremacy, and it is time to break the control, because aren't we all individual creators in control of our own destinies in art?
Mm-hmm.
Aren't we all people who want the same things? We all want the same opportunities, yet we give up when we know, oh, well, there's a click right there, we're not gonna get in, you know? So that's all I wanted to say.
All right. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you. We appreciate you. And
tuning in.
Yes, peace, love, and happiness. And you know, don't hesitate to subscribe to the A to the Z show. You know, my name is Ashley Zachary. That's from A to Z. Cover everything you need with a little oh, we gotta do that over. So my name is Ashley Zachary. That's from A to Z. Cover everything you need with a little entertainment in between. Yes, indeed. But thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me. I love you so much, and I enjoyed having this conversation. And like I said, I just pray that something can get done about everything. So we'll see.